Hello, and welcome to part 2 of a series called Ancient Wisdom for Troubled Times. This topic today is about the practice of taking and sending. Taking and sending is quite an amazing practice, actually, because it frees us from emotions that can be very strong and have a grip on us, and it allows for a great spaciousness to occur in the meditation that allows the eventual disintegration, you might say, of the strong emotion that occurs. So we're sending these videos out in a time of crisis, global crisis with the pandemic. And the pandemic, of course, people are reacting in various different ways. And some people experience very strong emotion, like fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety developed because we don't know all of the answers. We don't know really the best way to treat this virus, and we don't know who's going to get it, and will I get it, and then there's the difficulties of being isolated and living within. So how to deal with these emotions, these uncertainties, the disappointment. Maybe you've lost your job, and you don't know where the work is going to come from or where the income is going to come from, how to pay bills, how to live from day to day. And so this meditation practice hopefully can liberate us from the grip of strong emotion and then release it into a space that is wide, openness of space, so that we can plan, think, and live more peacefully in a balanced way and continue on as this drama of the virus unfolds before our eyes. So taking and sending has a name, actually a formal name. In Tibetan the word is Tonglen, and it was brought to Tibet by the wisdom mystic from India, Shantideva, probably around the year 700. So Tonglen literally means taking and sending. So what do you take and what do you send? Well, first of all, you take in breath and you exhale, so you send. The taking, drawing in the air, and the sending is the out-breath. But with Tonglen practice, you're taking in something negative, and then without judgment you release it immediately and send the antidote, whatever it may be, or what's the opposite, you might say, of what you're taking in. So let's take a minor example. Let's say that you are frustrated. So you take in the frustration inside, internally, in the in-breath, and then you breathe out the antidote to this frustration, which may be like peace. So frustration, peace, or resolution. Frustration, peace. And then you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes on this, going in and out, in and out, in and out, in the Tonglen. Now usually what will happen is that the emotion will shift, either at the time you're doing the meditation or after you've completed the meditation. It might even be later on in the day that the shift will occur. This is a type of meditation you can do at any time, really. You can do it several times during the day. It's actually quite simple to do and very, very liberating throughout the day. If you ever feel again the clutches of something very strong, you can release, you can release. So Tonglen then is really quite an ancient practice that is still done today, very much so. Now, because we're taking in negative emotion, the instruction usually is to be gentle with yourself at first. Don't take in something that's really hugely emotional, like grief if you've lost somebody very recently, or you're extremely worried about somebody who is ill. These kinds of things can be difficult at first until you get used to the practice. Now, having said that, the practice is used for extremely strong emotions that you may experience, like grief. But it's advisable, if you're just starting this practice, to sort of, get used to it first and be gentle and use emotions, negative emotions that are somewhat, almost neutral, that they don't cause too much problem in your system, but you are beginning this way. So let me outline just 4 steps for you for this practice. And after this commentary and this video, there'll be another video to follow where I actually will lead you, guide you in the Tonglen meditation practice. So we can do it together. So the first one is to focus on the breath, the breathing in and the breathing out, inhalation and exhalation. And while you're doing that, you're trying to calm your mind as best you can. So our minds are most times full of traffic jams of thoughts swirling about. Some people call it monkey mind, where your monkey's jumping here and there and can't stop, always has to be active, doing something all the time. So we're trying to slow that and hopefully just bring it to a stop, so that eventually your mind becomes as clear as a blue sky with no clouds in it. You're trying to have this peaceful, calm clearness that's happening. So spend some time doing this, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, up to 5 minutes. Then step 2 is where we actually inhale or take in the darkness, whatever it may be. So we start or kind of warm things up by breathing in dark smoke. Now, don't do this literally. You imagine dark smoke or dark heavy fog coming internally into the body through the lung, and then you exhale the antidote, which would be crystal clear, pure air. Okay? So in with the dark, and then beautiful clear. Now, where does it go? Well, if you're sending, it goes to you. That's the place to start, is with yourself. So breathe in the darkness and out comes the clear light. Then third step is to actually use something that's very real to you and breathe that in. So let's say that you've lost your job now, there's no income coming in, and you have a feeling of severe anxiousness. So now is the time not to apply labels or to figure out your immediate solution to this problem, but rather take it in and experience it, and then exhale the antidote, okay, which may be confidence to go ahead. So inhale the anxiety, out is confidence and peace. And do this for 5 minutes. You may be, if you're able to, do it longer. And as you're doing this, you may find that the emotion itself starts to shift. Because really, the most important thing is to work with the emotion, what it feels like. Not so much what the label is, or trying to define what fear is or anxiety is, but just feel the emotion as you breathe it in, and then breathe out the antidote. And you're breathing this antidote out to yourself. Okay, so that's the third step. And the fourth step really is to do this practice for all sentient beings. So here you're starting to expand beyond your own self and giving this practice, as it were, to all sentient beings that are in the same boat as you. So all of those experience intense anxiety, you give it to them, and you do the breathing for them, for their benefit. In, and then you send. Now this time you send to all sentient beings. And this is a way of concluding the practice, and then dedicating the practice afterwards, very important too. So dedicate this, the benefits, give it away to all sentient beings. And naturally you should receive benefit too, but then we expand and give benefit to all. So I just wanted to give you an example of this. When I first learned about Tonglen, I put it into practice right away, and I sort of jumped into the deep end with it because I was having some strong emotion with a boss of mine at work. And the boss, I'm trying to say this in a kind way, but I think, objectively speaking, the boss was a micromanager and used to tell me where I could put my coffee cup and where I couldn't, those kinds of things. And also a bully, just bullied all the time, and liked to threaten to get you to do things correctly. So would say, you're not going to survive, or you probably will be fired if you do this or that. And I wasn't alone in this. There were other staff members who were under the same conditions that I was at. Anyway, it made going to work full of anxiety, it wasn't pleasant at all. So I started to do the Tonglen so that I could experience my own feelings towards this person, and then breathe out the antidote, which is compassion. So in with this negative feeling, out with the compassion, first to myself. And I would actually sit for a long time and do this because my anxiety was quite bad. I had to wake up in the morning and have a glass of Pepto-Bismol instead of water or milk to get my stomach to settle down before I went to work, and then wouldn't sleep well at night. So those kinds of things. It was a big emotion. Anyway, I got to the point in the practice where I could do this for myself, but then do it for this boss person. So I would breathe in any negative feeling I thought the boss might be having, and then send compassion to the boss. Now, it wasn't easy at first, but eventually I was able to do it. And what it did was it opened up my heart. It opened up the interior. It opened me to expressions of compassion, even looking for opportunities to have compassion for my boss, who was, on my case all the time. And there was an occasion once where the boss came to work with pneumonia and kept coming day after day with the pneumonia, and was coughing, sneezing, and looked dreadful. So I had an aha moment. I said, oh, here's the opportunity to actually practice compassion. So I went into the office and I said, guess what? I'm pulling my car around, and you're going to get in the car and I'm driving you home. No questions, don't argue with me, we're going. And finally the boss said, you're right, I shouldn't be here. And so we were able to break through her strong work ethic and say it's okay to be sick, it's okay to go home, and I drove her home. And so it was an amazing thing for me, because I don't think I would have done that had I not been doing the Tonglen practice for myself and then for her. So it opened up these the opportunity for me to have the capacity, you might say, to help. So, benefits of the practice. Over time it will increase your compassion for yourself and others. Your heart will become much bigger. When new and troublesome experiences arise, you'll be able to deal with it directly. You won't have to wait. You will be freer to be compassionate to others who are suffering. And you will become sensitized to suffering and expedite healing through compassionate means. So, questions now. Here are 4 questions that people typically ask about this practice. So, will it work? Can I see results? Well, the answer to that is, I don't know. You'll have to try it for yourself. Most likely you'll experience a shift in your perception and the way you deal with problems, but like anything, It takes practice. So give it a try, and remember that this practice has been around for millennia and has been helping people. So is this practice contrary to my own faith? Well, for those who profess a creed, the practice need not conflict with any of your held beliefs or anything that you profess. This is a universal practice of compassion without any adherence to creed. So, on that note, you could even adapt the practice. For example, let's say if you're a Christian, you can identify with the person of Jesus in here. You can view the suffering, what you're breathing in, as part of the experience of Jesus forsaken on the cross. In his deepest hour of suffering, he took all the sufferings, past, present, future, onto himself. So his act of redemption wasn't just for himself to rise from the dead, but actually for all people, for all beings. And so, therefore, if all of that was taken upon himself, that includes your suffering. So if you have this belief in Christianity, you can even see this type of Tonglen practice as identifying with the redemptive act of Jesus. So the sufferings there, what's the out-breath then? Is redemption, is resurrection. New life, new body. So you can breathe in, out, okay? What's the next? I don't feel I can do this because my emotion is too strong, it's too scary. I don't want to look at it. Well, then start simply. Just use the minor irritations or the minor sufferings that you have as a way of starting in this. So don't try to hit something head on with this. Be kind, be gentle to yourself at first. So, okay, now we're ready for Tonglen guided meditation. So click on the next video and I'll guide you through it. Look for Ancient Wisdom for Troubled Times, the Practice of Taking and Sending, Part 2. Thank you.